Hey everybody, Jerry from AnnieMac again. How's everybody doing today? So this is going to be a really cool video today. I always love doing Excel calculators. So this is a product called Rate Relief. What Rate Relief is to give you a high level overview. What we're asking is if you have a listing that's a little dated. So this isn't for the listing that you did the open house and you had, 50 people walk through and you had 10 offers, right? And they're over ask. You don't need rate relief for that. So this is when the listing may be a little bit dated. Maybe it's going on 30 days. When you're ready to ask the seller to reduce their listing price so you can spur activity, that's when rate relief is going to come into play for you, right? So what we're trying to do is make it a win-win for everybody. So Annie Mac has a program. It's called Rate Relief, and I just want to take some simple numbers here, because in this market, in Long Island market, you're looking at average home sale between Nassau and Suffolk, give or take about 700,000, 750, whatever that number is. So let's say you have an $800,000 home. So on an $800,000 home, if you figure you're looking at price reductions of, say 5%, right? So that would be $40,000 that you're going to ask the seller to reduce their price down to 760, so you can spur some activity and get people interested in the property. So what we say is, why do that? And why ask the seller to lower his price by $40,000 so the seller nets 40,000 less? Your commission structure is based on the sale price, so you're going to make less money now because you're asking them to reduce the price. So instead of doing all that, what if we were able to ask the seller for less money, a little bit less than half of the 40, or maybe you were going to ask for 50, I don't know. But we're going to ask them for less money as a seller's concession. And instead of saying, hey, just offer it out to anybody who shows up, because we don't know where interest rates are going to be in a month from now, a month and a half from now. It's kind of all over the place. So what we're asking is to get them into a contract with us. The seller is going to get into a contract with us. We're going to ask him for a seller's concession. This comes out to about 2.4% of a seller's concession, right? So it's not even the normal, hey, I want to ask for 3% or I want to ask for 6%. It's a very specific number. And that number is based on us locking in an interest rate. So we want to take this house, not necessarily a buyer, but we want to take the house and we want to lock in an interest rate on the property. So we're allowed to charge 3 points as a lender. That's points and fees tests. So nobody can charge more than 3 points. You're just not allowed unless you're doing a non-QM loan, and that'll be a different video for a different day. But normal Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA, you're not going to be allowed to charge more than 3 points. So I did this with 3 points, right? And we charge the points based on the loan amount, right, which is 640, and not based on the purchase price. So if you're just randomly asking them for a sales concession of 3%, it would cost them $24,000 on this 800,000. But because we're asking for a seller concession of points to buy the rate down, we're only asking for 19,200, and this is on an $800,000 example. And I'll change these numbers so you can see how it plays out. So if we buy this rate down by with 3 points, and this is pretty much market rates based on today, give or take, right? But you're gonna, normal rates today say are 6.75, right? This is good credit, 20% financing. You're gonna get right around 6.75 to 7%. All depends on credit scores and things like that. So we price these and we do this and we lock them in based on certain criteria on our end, right? We want to do it as a 740 credit score and a 20% down payment. And then what we'll do is we'll go into a contract with the seller. They'll agree to pay the 19,200, and instead of the buyer getting 6.75, we can actually lock them into an interest rate with the house. This way, any buyer that shows up can get this rate of 5.875. So what does that do? So your normal payment, right, 6.75 is 41.51, but with the bought down interest rate, it's 37.85, and that's a savings of 365 a month. So in essence, if you see this number, this additional buying power number, that is what it would really cost. Like if you were doing a $61,735 mortgage at 5.875, it would be $365 a month. So we translate that backwards. So whatever they're saving, that's their additional buying power. So what we just did was, if you have somebody with a pre-approval letter from me or from a different lender or one of my partners in my office, in Annie Mac's office, if you have somebody with a different pre-approval letter that their max buying power was $740,000, well, now because of this, you just increase their max buying power by $61,000. So that's 740 now goes to 800. So if you had a buyer that you were shopping around and you couldn't show them this house because it was out of their price range, now it's in their price range. Does that make sense? So this is for an $800,000 loan, right? So if we're going to do $800,000 purchase price. So if you're going to do, a 650 purchase price, right? We change that to 650, and then we change this to 650, right? Because we're always going to do it at a 20% down payment. That's only 15,600. We're still only asking for 2.4%. That's about what it comes out to, right? The payment difference is 296, and they just have extra buying power of $50,000. So what we do is we lock in this rate on this property, and we lock it in for 60 days, right? After the 60 days is up, if we're in a contract, which we hope to be in a contract about that point, then we'll do another extension for 30 days for free to make sure that the buyer and our borrower can now get this rate. Now, if they come to us and they need to do an FHA loan, they want to do 3.5% down, that's fine, right? We have this 15,600 to play with to lower their rate again, right? And we'll adjust it accordingly on our end. But they still have a lower rate than market rate. And because we're locking it in, and because we're in contract with the seller, you can now advertise this on MLS. We have language that's going to let you put, this house qualifies for Annie Mac rate relief, and you can get an interest rate of 5.875 on this property, and you can actually put that on MLS. And we're okay with that. Our legal team said that's fine because it's a locked-in interest rate. We're not just throwing rates out there willy-nilly. It's locked in. It's parameters that people can actually get, and it's not a lost lead. So I thought this was a really good thing. Obviously, the higher the value, then the higher the savings. Right, $1 million is only 24,000. You're probably going to ask for 50,000 or 75,000 reduction on this. We're only asking for 24,000. Right now, your borrower who can only spend $920,000, $930,000 can now afford $1 million property. Anyway, Jerry again, Annie Mac. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'd love to talk to you more about this. Thanks. Bye.